Okay, so it looks like we got quite a few folks here up on the tram. Welcome, everybody. Now, once our tour gets started, it's going to be about 45 minutes to an hour, and we are headed to a real working TV and movie studio. Now, it is a weekend, so there's not any active filming happening today, but some of our larger sets were being used for a production earlier this week, and as we pass by them, we actually get to see a bit of the set decorations that are still up. So right now, they are striking the sets, meaning they're taking everything down, but they did leave up a little bit, so as we pass by that area, we'll make sure to go ahead and point it out to you. Now, they were filming over in our metropolitan sets. Those are the big city sets that we're seeing over here on the right. So if you've done the studio tour before, if we're not going to a particular area, you remember from last time, it's probably because it was being used for a production. Okay, everybody, we're going to wave goodbye to the folks till 9. You'll probably see them later on in the theme park. Also, a big thank you to our wonderful studio tour ambassadors. Now, I don't do the tour all by myself. Gonna have a little bit of help from my co-host. He also happens to be the host of The Tonight Show. Please welcome Mr. Jimmy Fallon.
Welcome to the Universal Studio Tour. I'm Jimmy Fallon. I'll be making sure that you get through this experience in one piece. You got the very best guy.
Roxy.
And the greatest driver.
James.
They're the best. I love them. Even though
Roxy.
they owes me $5.
I do.
I know you guys are excited to get on the tour, but first, a few safety rules.
Yeah, safety is very important. So we're going to have some of those rules for you up here on your screens. Also, if you need guest assistance or have a medical emergency, if you drop something of value off the side of the tram, or if you have any sound or video issues, reach up and grab the ready cord that runs along the center of the ceiling of the tram. I'll be back to assist you as soon as it's safe to do so, but do remain seated. Otherwise, during the entire tour, please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. The studio is private property, and if at any time during the tour you drop your phone or you just can't wait to use the restroom, pull the cord and remain seated. And please, no smoking of any kind during the tour. And be prepared, our tour today features loud noises, fire effects, and many water effects, so you may get wet. There are also sudden tram movements during the tour, so secure your personal belongings and hold on. And finally, for your safety and the safety of those around you, please do not use selfie sticks while on board. So folks, we have officially left the theme park. We are making our way down to our movie studio. On our way there on the left side of the tram, you're going to see Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift the roller coaster, which is set to open up in 2026. Now, a little bit of history about our studio. We were founded by Carl Laemmle. He's the gentleman wearing the black bow tie up on your screen. He opened up our studio here in Southern California on March 15th of 1915, 110 years ago. From the very beginning, Carl Laemmle wanted people to see how and where the movies were being made. So when we first opened up, we had walking tours. Guests could just wander around the lot and watch the filming of the silent movies. Once we began to incorporate sound into the films, we had to call for quiet on set and couldn't really do those walking tours anymore. But on July 15th of 1964, inspired by the Gray Line bus tours that used to stop here, Universal introduced its very own world-famous studio tour. Now, folks, up ahead, we're going to see the sound stages where we do the majority of our filming. We have a total of 36 sound stages here on the lot. Coming up on the left side is one of the oldest and largest. Stage 12 is where we used to film The Voice, and it was home to these epic movie scenes. So all of those scenes filmed in the exact same location. Up on your screens, that's what a soundstage looks like with no set inside. Now we are passing some more stages over here on the left. Anytime they have a door open, I highly suggest always come over inside. Now up ahead, we are going to be passing by sound stages 8, 7, and then 14. And this is where we filmed the fourth and final season of the show, Bel Air, starring Jabari Banks.
So what is you put egg on the cheese? You put cheese on the eggs or on the cheese? It's hot.
Whoa, how many seasons are there?
That's not a lot.
Probably fit the whole battle cast of food. You guys don't have this information.
And for sure. But what you think of, the way some natural is right here on the Universal Lot. Right. Some of Beller's most pivotal scenes have been filmed right here. Part.
What have been your most memorable moments?
There's so many to choose from. You know, I love the early set where Will first enters and at that moment his life changes forever. What about you?
The Battle Academy gym set is here too. I remember you having to sit in that cold ice bath, so
Yeah, that was real. Still can't feel my toes. No, but seriously, my favorite part of this life is the talented crew who put it all together. Hair, wardrobe, makeup,
set design, props, and transportation.
Oh, yes. Yo, Transformers the best. And they got the seamless laughs for us to play with.
So speaking of, if we're gonna get a ride like this, we better go talk to Transform now and let these people get back to their tour.
Hey, that sounds good. Tell me how to drive.
Oh, not I'm not peace.
Oh, man.
And you can catch up on 3 seasons of Bel Air currently streaming on Peacock. Now coming up on the right side of the tram, we're going to see some more sound stages. These ones are a little bit smaller than the ones we passed earlier, and they're used mostly for television shows, so we've nicknamed this area Sitcom Row. This is where we've been filming in Season 5 of Hacks, starring Emmy Award winners Gene Smart and Hannah Einbinder. These sound stages are also where we filmed a brand new show called The Paper. Now over on the left side of the tram, that's where you'll spot Ted, the teddy bear from the movies Ted and Ted 2. He also has his very own television series.
Hi everyone, Seth McClellan. I'm excited to share this book with all the series one. Peacock original event series, Ted. It's a prequel series set up. Tell the kids to go in the room before they walk.
Now Ted was staying in front of the production bungalows. So we use those little bungalows on the left as office spaces. Located here is Mark Platt Productions. They're the ones that brought the Broadway musicals Dear Evan Hansen and Wicked to movie theaters. Now if you're a fan of Wicked, Part 2, Wicked for Good, that's going to be released in theaters on November 21st. Now also coming up on the left side of the tram, we've got sound stages 25 and 26, and this is where we've been filming season 2 of St. Denis Medical.
Welcome to St. Denis Medical Center.
St. Denis Regional Medical.
I have access to some really good stuff, and I will blow you up.
No, man. That was a test.
Like the Avengers.
We're not supposed to have favorite patients, but we do.
I also want to get better.
Pale, kind of blotchy.
It's the other one.
Oh my god, that's much worse.
And you can watch the first season streaming on Peacock. Now over on the left, you're going to get a little peek of our Metropolitan set. So it looks like they still have the streets filled up with dirt. I'm not able to tell you what was filming there. It is a top secret production. But don't worry, we're going to get another opportunity to see that area once we are out of King Kong 360 3D.
It's the original King Kong. I like films that just take you away from your real life and sweep you up over the edge. Kong literally does that. I mean, you're on board this ship, you're sailing to a lost island, you're encountering monsters and creatures from, prehistoric times. So I was thrilled when Universal invited me back to Skull Island, and it's great to have you along for the ride. Now, we have created this 3D immersive experience, so you're going to have your glasses ready. Don't put them on yet, just about to return to Skull Island.
Adventure awaits us on Skull Island, so a reminder to remain seated at all times and hold on. Go ahead and remove those 3D glasses. You're not going to need them for the rest of the tour. King Kong 360 3D is the only portion of the studio tour that has those big screens with 3D effects. All the other special effects we'll be seeing are practical, meaning they are happening in real time. Now, the 3D effects we just saw, they were brought to us by Peter Jackson and the very talented crew over at Weta FX. They are based out of Wellington, New Zealand. They worked with Peter Jackson on the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. They've also worked on some newer movies like Superman, Fantastic Four. They even done some television. They did the dragons in Game of Thrones and Eagly in Peacemaker. Now, folks, we are getting another opportunity to see a little peek of our Metropolitan sets, again coming up on the left side of the tram. Now, our Metropolitan sets, they are some of the busiest sets we currently have here on the lot. There is always something filming here. These sets are used by productions like Bel Air, Ted, St. Denis Medical, Hacks. They're also used quite frequently for various commercials or music videos. We've even done some big-time movies here. Our Metropolitan sets were used as 1940s Brooklyn in Captain America, the First Avenger. It's the scene where Steve Rogers gets the super soldier serum and he's chasing after the Hydra agent. They also used our Metropolitan sets for the end of the first Transformers film, when Shia LaBeouf is running down the street and the buildings are exploding behind him. Those are real explosions, but they didn't blow up the buildings that are here on the lot. They created extensions or shells, and that's what they detonated. He even had the explosives hooked up to pressure pads, so as Shia LaBeouf would run down the street, he'd step on one of the pads, and then that would trigger the explosion. They also used a little bit of CGI in that scene. And then American Ninja Warrior. They like to film their semi-finalist episode right here on the Metro sets. Now, folks, coming up on the right side of the tram, we've got the beautiful monster murals that were created for us by local artist Tristan Eaton. Tristan actually started off doing graffiti in Los Angeles, went to school to learn classical art techniques. He now makes murals all around the world. He doesn't use any stencils either. He does all of his work freehand, just using spray cans. Now, he did this for us back in 2019. Universal wanted to give an homage to those classic monsters because they really helped out the studio, especially during the Great Depression. Now, coming up on the left side of the tram, that's where we'll see sound stages 30 and 31. This is where we now film The Voice. And next to it, in sound stages 32 and 33, that is where Reba McEntire films her show, Happy's Place, and they're currently on season 2. Now, in front of those sound stages, you're seeing a body of water. Now, that filming location, we call it Park Lake, and it was used as the Amazon River for a creature from the Black Lagoon. Up on your screens, you are seeing the Gill Man, who was designed by Millicent Patrick. She was the beauty who created the Beast. And they had 2 actors portray the Gill Man. One of them was a professional diver, and he was able to hold his breath for long periods of time, allowing the camera crew to get footage of the Gill Man actually swimming in the water. Now, there is a scene with the Gill Man in the water, and he's reaching out for the lady that's swimming above him. That's the scene that inspired a young Guillermo del Toro to later come up with the movie The Shape of Water from Fox Searchlight Pictures. He wanted to know more about why was the Gill Man reaching up for the lady. They never explain it in Creature from the Black Lagoon. So when he grew up to become a big-time Hollywood director, he answered the question for himself in The Shape of Water, which won an Academy Award for Best Picture. Now, speaking of those classic Universal monsters, we're going to be driving through our Little Europe set where many of those monster movies were made. But if you are a fan of The Good Place, you're going to recognize this as The Afterlife.
I've never ever seen kids during the good.
I'm not supposed to be here. Let's go to the
What is the bad place?
Well, it doesn't sound awesome.
Now, long before this was being used as The Afterlife, it was being used for those classic Universal monster movies like Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff, The Mummy, also starring Boris Karloff. It was used for The Invisible Man, The Wolfman, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Son of Frankenstein. Why so many monster movies? Well, Universal stumbled onto the fact that the monster movies were popular during the Great Depression because audiences wanted to see people in a worse off position than themselves. And the movies were cost effective for the studio to make. They're reusing the same sets over and over again, the same costumes and actors, and they're basing these movies off of novels in the public domain, like the novel Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley before she was 20 years old. This was way back in the early 1800s. So by the time Universal made the movie in the 1930s, because that novel was over 100 years old, it was in the public domain, meaning they didn't have to pay for the rights. So the combination of those movies being both cost-effective and popular meant Universal was one of the only studios making money during the Great Depression, and it's why we hold those monsters so near and dear to our hearts. Now, folks, it looks like we may have an opportunity to go inside of Soundstage 50. It is currently being used by a production and contains what we call a hot set, meaning it is fully decorated, lights, camera, everything is ready to go. Now, once we're inside of Soundstage 50, we are going to experience some practical effects that will cause a lot of sudden tram movement. So please make sure all of your personal belongings are secure and that we remain seated at all times. So this soundstage has been decorated to look like a subway station in San Francisco. Now they're filming over by the ticket machines on the left side of the tram. That's where all the lights are set up, the camera's pointed in that direction. You're even seeing props. So the back of the cash of the clip, those are items the actors that are used within the scene. Now we're going to start off with a small tremor, so be prepared for sudden trembling. Now a much larger earthquake. Hang on. Demonstrate to the studio tour those big practical effects that they were using for the disaster films of the 70s and 80s, like Earthquake from 1974. They created those big practical effects to happen quickly and then reset quickly, allowing productions to do take after take after take. And we are about halfway through the tour, so just a reminder to remain seated throughout the entire tour. The studio is private property, so if you happen to drop your phone or if you really need to use the restroom, remember, pull the red cord to get my attention. I'll be back to assist you as soon as it's safe to do so, but do remain seated at all times, especially in Amity Island, which is going to be our next stop, because we're experiencing a bit of a shark problem. Now, we do have one of our veteran divers, George, who is currently in the water right now. His job is to capture the shark and keep the studio tour safe. So if you see him out there, definitely going to thank him for his bravery. And he caught the shark. Oh, see, he hung her up. She's smiling. She's ready for her close-up. George is not back in his boat, so he's probably still out in the water. Just double-checking that it's safe. Folks, I spoke too soon. There is another shark in the water with George, so let's try to get a hold of him. You can see George, buddy. Hey, you need to get back to that boat. Your life is in danger. Okay, so George has decided to enter hand-to-hand combat with the shark, which is weird because George, sharks don't have hands, they have teeth. Very, very sharp teeth. Ooh, yeah, it looks like he found that out the hard way. Okay, folks, so we're going to go ahead and hide behind these highly flammable gasoline barrels, so we're currently safe here. Let's see, there is some bait on the white barrel. The shark has taken the bait along with the entire pier. Uh-oh, and is that gasoline? Fire is fantastic news because sharks hate fire. So don't worry, the shark is not going to appear in the trap. Shark Paw because it's not real. That's our mechanical shark, Bruce. named after Steven Spielberg's attorney, Bruce Raymer, because he said his attorney was a shark in the courtroom. Now, Jaws not filmed here at Universal. It was actually filmed over on the East Coast in Martha's Vineyard, and the mechanical sharks they were using for the film had never been tested out in salt water before. So when they put those sharks into the Atlantic Ocean, the salt corroded the inner workings, causing the sharks to eventually malfunction. Now, the hero of the story was the editor, Verna Fields. She's the one that came up with the idea to not show the shark for the majority of the film, thus creating suspense. And her editing skills earned her an Academy Award, and Jaws became one of the first summer blockbusters of our time. Now, folks, here on the Backlot, we like to say the world is just around the corner. I mean, we just traveled from the East Coast all the way down to Old Mexico, and we're going to experience some practical weather effects. Now, we're going to start off with some thunder and lightning. Now, we create that by using speakers and strobe lights that have been placed on top of the building so the camera won't be able to see them. I know it's really sunny outside, so it is a little bit difficult to see the lightning, but we are hearing that thunder. Now, for rain, we're going to use a sprinkler system. That's also been set up nice and high, shoots the water up into the air, falls down to the ground just like that. It looks and feels just like rain. Now, the sun does help illuminate those raindrops, making them visible on camera. Now, at night, it's actually really hard for the camera to see the rain, but that is where the lightning can come in handy. Now, with all this rain, it is going to cause some flooding. But you're perfectly safe as long as you remain seated at all times, and definitely keep an eye out for those cameras and those cell phones. That is our flash flood effect. We used it in the movie Big Fat Liar, starring Frankie Muniz, Amanda Bynes, and Paul Giamatti. Now there's Paul Giamatti and his stunt double. Academy Award winner Lady Gaga used that very same flash flood effect in her music video Judas, but she didn't use a stunt double. She stood in the middle of that flash flood herself and also did a big dance number for that music video right here in Old Mexico. You can also see these sets in Star Trek Picard. It's Vashti, the Romulan refugee planet, and it was used as the town of Pariah in Westworld. Now, speaking of Westerns, here we are in 6 Points, our very own Western sets. And here's my co-host, Jimmy Fallon. And he's going to show you how these sets can be utilized.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us, Jimmy Fallon.
Well, I ain't going anywhere, Jimmy Fallon.
Now look here. Nice folks in this tram don't want no trouble. They just want to check out 6 Points, one of the oldest sets on the Universal line.
I hear this where John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart shot a few of their westerns.
That's right.
Looks like we got ourselves a Mexican standoff. Wow. Lucky shot.
Let's see you now. Get out of town.
All right. I'll see you again, pal.
Oh, you can count on that.
Now, some of those classic Westerns include My Little Chickadee with Bay West, Death Street Rides Again, and War Wagon. And our Western sets were also used in Quentin Tarantino's 9th film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, and Leonardo DiCaprio. You can also see our Western sets featured in the movie Maxine, starring Mia Goth. Now, folks, we are going to be passing by Amity Island again, and here is director Steven Spielberg to talk about the creation of the attraction Jaws.
The Jaws ride was almost the inevitable result of the size of the box office when Jaws first opened in June of 1975. And that was really the first time I ever got involved in the creation of a ride. It was a great honor to be invited into a creative circle of tremendous designers at Universal. We're trying to figure out how to replicate what the movie had done to audiences in a real way by building a physical shark that would come out of the water and terrify tourists as they were seeing the trend. And the most amazing thing about the Jaws ride is it is exactly as it was from the time it was first placed on Universal lot. There have been great support over the years by various essentially designers and myself.
George, there's a shark! Swim to the boat! Alright, George decided on hand-to-hand combat.
Coming up on the right side of the tram, we're going to see the Chicken Ranch from the movie musical The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, starring Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds. It was also used as the Firefly Ranch in Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. Now, the Chicken Ranch is what we would call a practical set because production can film on the inside and the outside. Many of the other houses that we have here on the lot, they're what we would call shells. So we've only created the exterior for filming, the interior is just a really basic plywood structure because we prefer to film inside of our sound stages. Now we are headed down Colonial Street. Now this is one of our larger residential filming locations, probably the second busiest here on the lot. It was recently being used for a brand new show called The Burbs, starring Kiki Palmer. Now, the show The Burbs is based off the movie The Burbs, starring Tom Hanks, which was also filmed on our Colonial Street. Now, coming up on the left side of the tram, you're going to see a yellow house. That's Davy's house from the show Never Have I Ever. On the right side of the tram, the tan or the beige house, that was Eddie Murphy's house in the movie Candy Cane Lane. The gray house next to it was Kenan Thompson's house in his show Kenan. And yes, Colonial Street was used as Wisteria Lane in ABC's Desperate Housewives. You can also see Colonial Street in the new TED television series.
How many we got? Let's see, we got 20 copies.
And we have left the suburbs and we are headed up Steven Spielberg Drive. We named it after him because, well, Universal is where he got his start.
My career began with my relationship with Universal Studios. This is a high school kid on a tour bus. Remember, in those days, there weren't trams, there were buses. I went on a tour bus, and I was so excited and thrilled to be on a lot. My first time ever on a movie studio lot. And during the bathroom break, I hid in the bathroom. When everybody went to get back on the bus, I waited another 15 minutes until I'm sure the bus left. And then I had the entire lot to myself back there. And the movie lots were so proud because all movies were made on film lots. They were made all over the world, on location, but most of this focused in those days in the 60s on the film lots. So nobody noticed me when I was going around from soundstage to soundstage. And I really felt, in my own young way, I owned the lot. And had the most amazing day of my life.
Coming up on the left, we're going to see picture cars. Picture cars, any kind of vehicle being used for the big or small screen. We have one of our classic 1964 glamour trams. Next to it, we got the gyrosphere from Jurassic World. No, we didn't remove the glass. What you saw in the film was CGI. This way, they don't pick up the reflection of their camera crew. We also have our Flintstone vehicles. Now, they were either towed or pushed during filming. We didn't make John Goodman paddle them with his feet. And Fast and Furious fans, we have one of Dominic Toretto's Chargers. It is next to the Skyline that Paul Walker's character drove in Too Fast, Too Furious. And at the very end of the line, you will recognize Bumblebee from Transformers. I know Bumblebee is next to a Decepticon. They're only enemies on screen. And then around the corner, we have the Bates Motel. So these sets were actually created for the sequels, Psycho 2 and Psycho 3. But the house that's up on the hill, that is from the original Psycho movie. And don't worry, we are going to get a closer look at it. Now on our way to the Psycho house, you're going to spot our scale model Hollywood sign over here on the left. And it has been decorated for the Terror Tram. That's a part of Halloween Horror Nights. Now folks, just a reminder, we are about 10 minutes away from the end of the tour, so if you need assistance, pull the red cord and do remain seated at all times. Now I'm a little bit nervous to go past the Psycho house because Norman Bates is out on the porch. Hopefully we will be able to pass by. Oh no, okay, I'm sorry about that folks, I made a sudden movement. Car 3, it was nice knowing you. Woo! Oh, that was a close call, Car 3, but we have escaped Norman Bates. Here we are in the set from War of the Worlds, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Tom Cruise. That is a real 747 that you're seeing out there. Paramount Pictures purchased the plane from the plane graveyard out in the Mojave Desert and then brought it out here. Now, it was retired back in the 70s or 80s. We think that because there's still ashtrays in the armrest back when you could smoke on planes. So in order for Paramount to get the plane out here, they chopped it up into 4 pieces to fit on 4 flatbed trucks. And then they removed the top of the plane so that it could fit underneath the freeway overpasses. It took Paramount a month to create the set. They filmed her for about 1 week, and all of this was done for a scene that lasted 5 minutes.
The airplane crash was perfect example of a set that was all designed around the vision of Steven.
And so again, to sit down and talk about what if the same for them goes down right in a big wheel? Because it's just something you don't see.
You're doing good. Listen, man, listen, I want your question marks, okay? Down close. Robbie, get in. Get in.
Now, War of the Worlds is a movie about a large-scale alien invasion. The next sets we're going to be driving through, they're from the movie Nope, which is also about aliens, but it's more about a UFO hotspot. And we're going to be driving through the sets called Jupiter's Claim. And here to tell us more is Academy Award-winning director Jordan Peele.
Movie magic only happens when a team of collaborators, often in the hundreds, work together to take an impossible notion and bring it to life. This is Jupiter's Claim, a nostalgic, small-time, Southern California amusement park owned by former child star Ricky G. Over there, look into the winter room and have your picture taken just like the kids in that old 90s movie show. That's what this whole place is loosely based on. Remember that one? No? Why? A little further down, you can see the brand new Stop Lasso experience. Built to showcase an unbelievable new live show. Anyway, behind this Hollywood fantasy, it's a Simpsons scene. Welcome to the world of New.
So we're hearing a UFO fly over Jupiter's Claim. The UFO drops items from the sky, so we're hearing the sound effects of those items land on the tram and the surrounding buildings. The UFO also affects electrical systems. That's why the sky dancers stopped working and why the lights on the buildings were flickering. But the only way to find out what happened to the Star Lasso experience is to watch the movie Note. Now, folks, up ahead, we're going to be passing by a filming location we call Falls Lake. It contains one of the largest freestanding blue screens in the entire world, and in front of the large blue screen is a cement basin that can be filled up with water. Holds about 2.7 million gallons of water, takes 3 days to fill up. Here it is in the movie Sully.
Evacuate.
Real plane, real water, real people. All those items were placed, and the large cement basin coming up on the right side of the tram. The cityscape that you're seeing behind them, that is all CGI. Now this way, productions can film in a safe and controlled environment as opposed to having to film on location in an actual river. Up on your screens, you're seeing a plane surrounded by 5 barges. We could not fit 5 barges into that cement basin. They had 1. They moved it to different locations and then layered the images on top of each other. So they created the illusion that the plane was surrounded. And then the helicopter that's in that scene, that was also CGI as well. So folks, we have shown you where they make the movies, and now we are taking you back to the theme park so that you can ride the movies. For over 110 years, Universal has been thrilling audiences around the globe. Our founder, Carl Laemmle, had a vision to make movies that would make audiences laugh or cry or sit on the edge of their seats. When he first opened the doors to Universal City in 1915, he wanted to open up the world of movie making to everyone. He understood the power of storytelling on the screen and the excitement that going behind the scenes can inspire. And I hope